If you've had an autoimmune disease for years, I'm talking 3, 4, maybe 5 years, it's likely you've hit a point where hope feels dangerous because it's so far out of reach. If this is you, if you are someone who dreams of the miracle of remission, but the thought of hoping and fighting feels delusional and dangerous, this podcast is for you. Hi, my name is Gianna Michalak. I'm a clinical nutritionist, an autoimmune specialist, and a connective tissue condition expert. Through my personal experience battling scleroderma for over 12 years and now 9 years in unmedicated remission, I help men and women increase their odds of remission with connective tissue autoimmune disease like scleroderma, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, and more. And I am here to tell you that there are things that you can do right now to support your health in a way that provides freedom. It can provide you a way to take back what autoimmune disease has stolen from you. And your first step can start right here, right now. Once I started a healing journey, one thing that I've mentioned a few different times now is the decision to act, the decision to really take one step at a time. And this is actually something that I talk to my clients about often, because the truth is, when it comes to starting an autoimmune healing journey, this season takes time. And something that I'm happy to dive into in more detail, there's a podcast coming, I promise, that kind of hints on this more with a client, but there is a season, oftentimes 9 times out of 10, and I also experience this, where you're healing and flaring at the same time. And this is not talked about enough, especially on social media, the internet, and it is a ditch that so many autoimmune babes, autoimmune warriors fall into when they are in this pursuit of better health. And so in this podcast, we are going to really be focusing in on how do you climb up this mountain that has ridges and rocks and maybe even, cliffs that you feel like you're falling down. How can you set yourself up for success so you can physically and emotionally build momentum in the right direction so that you can live more life and not watch it pass you by from the sidelines? I'm going to share this tactic, this step with you today with hopes that you give it a try, you utilize it, and maybe you come back and let me know how this has helped you. Because the truth is, when we are looking to increase your odds of remission, when you are looking to actually relieve and extinguish inflammation, especially with connective tissue disease, which means that this inflammation is systemic because connective tissue is all over our body, we have to focus on your health in a way that is both inside out and outside in. And food being medicine is a part of that equation. But another huge part of this equation that is often not talked about, especially in specific tangible detail, is the emotional element of autoimmune disease. It's the spiritual element of autoimmune disease, and it's how autoimmune disease actually attaches itself to your identity, which is one of the reasons why hope can feel so dangerous. And so when we're looking at trying to be more positive or more optimistic or more hopeful, the way that I usually approach this, not only with clients, but with myself when I was on my own healing journey, was I really wanted to get evidence as quickly as possible. So we were stepping out in faith, but we were collecting data in the process. Because the truth is that when you go to your doctor's office, you can't just say, I feel better. The goal is that your blood work changes. The goal is that your pain starts to relieve. And the goal is that you can safely, maybe one day, come off all medications and experience remission, unmedicated, and just a truly restored life. Now, it's likely that you're like, okay, that sounds crazy. And you know what? It might sound crazy. And I'm here to tell you that it's absolutely possible, but one step at a time, right? And this one step has helped myself and dozens upon dozens of others, almost hundreds of others, find relief in ways that they could never have imagined when they started. And now it's your turn. So this approach, this method is something that I call the next step mentality. The next step mentality was actually birthed from experiencing a flare-up on my healing journey. At this point, I was about a year into my healing journey, and I was doing all of these strategic things to support my health. I was working with an herbalist, a functional medicine doctor. I was still seeing my rheumatologist, right? I had a team in my corner really helping me do this in a way that was safe and effective. And a flare-up hit. Now, with scleroderma, this is both a physical flare-up and, in my experience, and my clients and you likely agree, when a flare-up hits, there's a physical manifestation of it, symptoms, pain, with scleroderma, lesions, and scarring. And there's also an emotional element to it. For me, there was a lot of depression. It was panic. I call it the emotional tornado. Because almost instantly, when I realized it was happening, when I realized I was experiencing a flare, I would go into this deeply gutted panic. And that's where I would feel despair, depression, and grief, for a lack of better terms. And because of these experiences, hope became painful, hope became dangerous, and hope became delusional. And so this time, when I experienced a flare-up, I was on a journey. I was learning, I was developing, I was utilizing skills and collecting data and collecting evidence about my body. And I felt this emotional tornado within me. And in this moment, all I could do was simply take a shower. And so I found myself in this back and forth between the emotional tornado and prayer. I was mad because, hello, I was a year into my healing journey and I'm experiencing a flare-up. What the heck? And at the same time, I was really leaning and praying and like, God, like, what is this? Why is this happening? I feel like you've called me to this healing. I feel like I'm being obedient in these steps. What the heck is going on? Why am I again experiencing something where I'm loving my body and it hates me again? And so while I'm quite literally wrestling with God on a spiritual level, something really comes to my heart. And that voice was like, what's your next step? Focus on the next step. And so at this point, I was, finishing up with my shower. I literally took a second to really decide, like, okay, well, what is my next step? What can I do next? And in that moment, I decided, okay, well, I can make an anti-inflammatory meal. Let me make a smoothie and let me put like a lot of superfoods in it. And let me just make this like hyper nutritious. And so I did that. I got out of the shower, put on, some clothes, went into the kitchen, made a smoothie. And then this whisper of a voice came back and was like, okay, what's next? And I think at that point, I like cleaned my room, put some laundry away. And then it was, what's next? What's next? What's next? And I realized within 24 hours of that first decision to take one action at a time, the emotional tornado did not cause the destruction that it has so many times in the past. In fact, I realized that flare-up was, even though the flare came, it was less severe, it lasted less time, it was less painful, and the emotional destruction it caused was much less severe. That was my last flare I've ever experienced with autoimmune disease. And that is where the next step mentality was birthed. Because here's the truth. Most wellness routines and tips that you find on social media, they're designed for the feel-good days. They're designed for the days that you wake up feeling rested. They're designed for the days that you can hug your children and be pain-free. They're designed for the days that you can clean and cook and do laundry and run errands without literally crashing and burning for days and potentially weeks on end. But with autoimmune disease, we have to do it differently. We have to do it gently because there's a rehabilitation process that needs to be prioritized first. If you had knee surgery and you were an athlete, you would have to go to rehab before you ran a marathon. Otherwise, you would be in danger of re-injuring yourself. So why is it that when we're talking about a healing journey and a wellness journey, we lean on willpower and discipline and these really masculine, hard-punching ideologies, And then we like look at more of these softer, more feminine approaches with like, oh, you must not be all in. When in reality, rest can be one of the most challenging things to do, not only as an autoimmune warrior, but as an American in general. And so what we need to do here is we actually need to build a foundation for you that is designed for the symptom-filled days. They're designed for the days that you wake up not feeling like yourself. They're designed for the days that you wake up and you're in pain. They're designed for the days that you want to run around with your children in your backyard, but you can't because you can't physically do it, emotionally do it, or, it's dangerous for you. How can you take action to support your health one step at a time in those days, in those seasons when you're not feeling your best? And when we do that and we do it in a way that like truly supports you, it is an antidote to shame. It's an antidote to guilt. It's an antidote to the thought that healing is selfish. And you actually get to start to see how profoundly selfless healing is, especially if you're a parent or a mother. One of the most beautiful things that you can do for your family, for your children, is to be the best version of yourself. And supporting your health in the simple moments is the most effective and safe way to start. And so when we're talking about this next step mentality, we're talking about strategically taking one step at a time. Now, something that you might be asking yourself is, okay, this is really resonating with me, but like, what steps do I focus on? How do I get started with this? I want to get started like right now. And if this is you, I want to personally invite you to start with the Extinguish Your Inflammation Roadmap. Now, I'll be honest, this is not for you if you're looking to shortcut your way to healing. This is for you if you actually want to increase your odds of remission and stay there for life. If you are looking to reconnect with yourself and find life again at the end of this tunnel, the Extinguish Your Inflammation Roadmap is for you. And it's pre-recorded so you can watch it whenever you want. You get lifetime access so you can watch it over and over and over again if you need to, which I recommend, by the way. And so if this is you, if you are looking to learn about the next step mentality, if you are looking to learn how it's possible to increase your odds of remission with conditions like scleroderma, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, and more, I want to personally invite you to start here. This is a place where it's safe to hope again. Because the truth is, even if you have been struggling with your health for over a decade, like me, I had scleroderma for 12 years before going into remission. Better health is possible, and your body wants to heal just as much as you do. I promise your body does not hate you. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It is waiting for you to be on its team, not for the sake of eating healthier, but for the sake of you taking back what autoimmunity has stolen from you. You deserve a fulfilling life, and this can be your first step to redeeming it. I hope that this podcast was helpful for you. Make sure that if you haven't already, since this is a new podcast when it comes to YouTube, make sure if you haven't already to subscribe to this channel. We release podcasts every Tuesday. And if you know someone who has a connective tissue condition like scleroderma, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, and more, feel free to share this episode with them. The truth is that hope is not very common when it comes to these types of diagnoses. And you never know how profound and powerful this message could be to someone who deeply, deeply needs it. I'll see you next time. Bye.